We are going to continue our efforts in producing the adventure for Eberron, the Crystals of Mabar 8th level adventure, publishing on DMsGuild as soon as we can get it done. Let me check my signal here real quick. Alright, signal's coming through clear. Hey guys, if you follow me on Twitter, I have just posted that I am live on Twitter, so be welcome to follow me there at Phil Kearney, just to catch up when I'm going live or not. I'm going to punch some signals here on Discord real quick, and then we're going to dive into it. While I'm doing that, if you check in the link description down below, there is a stack of books on DMsGuild. There's a DMsGuild link there, books that I've produced to fill in mechanical details and different subsystem mechanics that Wizards hadn't produced that complement how 5e or D20 works in general. You can read all those books cover to cover. Read the entire book. That is something for you to be able to take a look at, just to see the kind of artwork that I produce, the kind of layouts that I do, the ideas that I have, just for you guys to just kind of see how, where we're going with all of this. So we're now on episode 81 of this endeavor, and it's coming along nicely. So like and subscribe. It's a long haul video, or the whole series. I mean, obviously we're up to about 160 hours of content production so far. So these things aren't fast and easy to build. The best way for me to be able to continue building momentum is with your support, with subscribing, liking, sharing, and checking out some of my other video content that I have. The Spelljammer series, the Martial Powers system, other artwork that I produced, Elemental Key, Spell Point Warlocks, character illustrations. But today we are continuing to work on the map of the cemetery. Boy, oh boy. This monster is just clipping right along, ain't it? So let me see where I'm at. Yeah, okay, that looks good. Cool. So let's, oh yeah, we're working on water. Okay, pretty much everything that we need to do, we've gotten done. Technically, the only things left is putting grit inside of this crypt, marking up the water so it's more than just blackish pools of middle blue, whatever, and put lids on these these 4 shrines and the crypt. So, oh yeah, and I need to muck up the gazebos a little bit. So. Let's see. I'm sitting on water. I think I'm going to bold myself into, working on water at this point. So, we have, nice quick start today. We're at 6:04 right now. We are going to put 2 hours on the block. So let's do it in 20-minute chunks. And, so what's my schedule today? This is a Monday. So that means that we're going to do the 2 hours of Eberron here now. And hey, Hornetico, man, thank you, man. Thank you. Oh, hey, since you're here, let me ask you specifically, when you're looking at this, are these 4 shrines, are these, when it's just black and white, obviously they stick out pretty well as objects that should be, or like locations to be engaged with, but with this much going on, I'm wondering, is the coloring for the walls on these shrines and the coloring for the crypt, even at this range, are those pulling out in your eyes? Are these things pulling forward as elements that you can clearly see? I think once we get into this point, it's pretty obvious what we got going on, especially if there were to be lids on these things. Like, I haven't built lids yet, but if I were to build a lid, it'd be something like this. But I'm just trying to do a gut check to make sure that these two, like these walls, these U walls specifically, you're pulling those elements out, because I think the rest of it reads okay. It's just a lot of texture and a lot of gray tones going on throughout this area. I'm just concerned that these crypts are being lost in the sauce. I can tell that there's something, but from that zoomed out level, it's hard to recognize them as something that would be interacted with. Sure enough, but I think most TTRPGs would be at this level of zoom, and if it's black and white, if you're printing, if you're saving your printer, it'd be like this. So, I think, yeah, I think that might, when I pan out like that, I can't really see it, but I think once I get to here, I don't think we have any problems. So let me know if I'm wrong, but we would use this coloration here, like this. Oh, wait, this should be way the bump up there. Start off like that. Yeah, the perfectly rectangular part of them helps them stand out against the more organic, natural shapes around them. Perfect. Yeah, because really zoomed out. It's I mean, you've been there. You know this with all the smoke in effect. Like you would only have like this kind of like only this much visibility as your character is navigating through the space anyway because of the smoke and stuff. So I think this level, like, actually, what is this? I think on a VTT it'd probably be something like around like this, maybe even this. I think this is about as far as I can imagine characters being on a virtual tabletop. And even at that level, I think it reads okay. I think most people doing VTT would zoom in probably to here and pan out occasionally, but with how this cemetery works, you're not going to get much more than this. So anyway, pontificating. I appreciate the head check, man. Thank you. I thought my head was screwed on straight with all this, but it's really nice to get a gut check every now and again. So yeah, what's my schedule like today? It's Monday. Today is we'll do this for the next 2 hours. We'll be off screen for a few hours while I do Monday stuff, and then we'll be back at lunchtime, probably around 11:30, I reckon. And I'll have a 2-hour burst today. I'll have a long lunch, and so yeah, we'll work on martial powers. We'll be looking at the rogue. We'll take a random rogue and build an archetype out of that rogue. Or rather, we'll pick a random archetype rogue and we'll translate its subclass features using the martial powers as a kit. Like if you want to play an assassin, but you don't want to choose the assassin, you just want to play a rogue with the martial trickster subclass that we built, so you could choose martial powers just like you would choose spells for the arcane trickster. We'll see what we can do to create an assassin, or maybe it'll come up. Maybe it'll come up tactician or something. We'll choose our 15 martial powers to build a tactician, for instance. So that's the, we're gonna call this roof. Duplicate that. This is how it's supposed to be. So, like, in the virtual tabletop, these will be separate items that you can load into the map, so that you can like literally put a lid on your shrines, and then when somebody comes by and wants to poke their, I mean, we'll fancy it up and stuff, but when someone wants to poke their head in, we can peel back the lid. There you go. And on the black and white version, we'll make black and white versions of these that you can just cut out little squares of, and we have our page breakup, like these little 3x3 spaces that we have here. We could fit them in the margins. Well, I don't actually have to fit them in the margins. I can just take a separate 11x17 page and drop these lids, 2, 3, 4 lids on top, like into the blank map space, and then we can make a lid for this and do the same. So where am I at? Blurp, blurp. Shrines. I'm gonna find shrine in me. We'll do that. transform. Yeah, okay, this is choppy. Fuck it. We're just putting lids on things. It doesn't really matter right now. I'll fix it up. I'll fix it up when it's time to actually do something real. But I just wanted to put this on there for perspective. Right. That's pretty freaking obvious. So, all right, well, we're doing good. So we're going to go ahead and just pause that there. And so let's get into water. So we'll go with darkness and bluesage. All right, we are in complete creative exploration mode right now. I didn't start my timer. So our goal is to make interesting texture stuff with water. So I'm going to switch to a roundy brush. And I think I want my wedge. Yeah, the guitar pick is what I need for the water. Wedge smudge. And we'll go here. So let's see. I have no idea how this is going to go. We're just experimenting with stuff. So I think I want to start here as an interesting point. So I'm going to blurble some of this in. I want my I want like an 80% smudge factor on here so I can push this water around. I really, oh boy, my nub is really starting to wear down. I'm going to have to nub up something new here pretty soon. Wow, look at that deep cut. That is a chisel. These yeah, it's I'm getting low enough on my nub at this point that, oh, there it is. My nub is getting low enough at this point that it's starting to cut in on, like, it feels like I'm cutting my board with it. Hold on, let's see if I can. I can't remember if this is the right pieces or not. Oh yeah, these are too small. All right, I'm gonna have to fish out where my freaking tools are. You bring your freaking tools? I think these are the right ones. Hold on, guys. I'm trying to see if I have it. This is the Wacom pen. This is a little tool that Wacom provides. It's like a little round thing that lets me come over here into my nib, grab my nib with its little teeth, pull out the nib. Here's my nib. Let's see. And now we put a new nib in. I've got this cool little, hold on. I've got this cool little pin thing you set your pin on, right? There's a stack of nibs in there. And this is where the tool goes for storage purposes. Now that we have a new nib loaded, we should be, yeah, perfect. about scraping anymore. When the nib wears down eventually, I've actually used pieces of spaghetti before. Those work too. You can just slide it into position here. They lock into place already. You grab the tool, you pull it, it unclicks, and then you can replace it. I've got like 40 some odd nibs laying around in a box, but I've got a quick stack there. So this should work okay for us for today's session. I might have to go grab another one. But right now we're just trying to make watery effects. We're gonna see how effective this is. I was drawing more asteroids for the Spelljammer book the other day, and I realized I'd forgotten how to do the damn asteroids, so I had to go back and look at the previous episodes of the Spelljammer set that I had done to remember how the techniques work, so I can have some consistent look, which is, again, Big Brain Phil recording all his work so that he can go back and remind himself in his old addled age of dreams what exactly it is that he's done to make what he does. So that was fun. I liked having a documentation there for me to go back and reference myself. So yet again, patting myself on my back with a broken arm that I'm doing the right thing for me by doing all these sessions. So regardless if people watch it or not, it's obviously what I'm supposed to be doing because it's letting me. I just think it's funny that I have to watch my own videos to remember what the hell I was doing. But hey, that's that panned out. This though, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. When I did the water, I had that flow, right, because everything was draining somewhere. But with these huge puddles, there's nothing nowhere for draining. So I guess if anything, I could like make up like a drainage center, and then start pushing like very slow water seepage or very slow flow from these higher elevations. That's what I'm trying to do, is like, if I'm imagining that, okay, it's raining constantly, so there's going to be runoff, and that runoff is what caused these puddles in the first place. So I'm trying to identify in this piece, where are the points of runoff that's pushing this in, that would be it'd be a very small, gentle glide, and my hand keeps doing this, which makes me think that water is flowing from this direction, from this cartography over here. And it's like, this is the driver pushing things this way. So this might actually be accurate to have things flow like this. And then I can push it around like this to cause a little eddy. I can have flood coming through like this. I think I can pull that off. I think that's what I want to do. As someone who's taken recent events as an excuse to really start working on a TTRPG of my own, I see what you mean about experimenting being the name of the game. Yeah, absolutely it is. Absolutely it is, my bro. Yeah, that's the name of the game, motherfuckers. So let's just do this. I'm using a very high 80% strength on my smudge, so I can just grab a line and it'll drag with me for a while. So I'm hoping that's going to end up serving us well. It's how I did some of the water contours on the flooded on the flooded fortress map, which we completed previously, and we've taken all our cues from with this. So that map has been updated with the darkened borderline color as well, and obviously I took care of all this tilted grit of stuff falling into the water. So far so good. I'm gonna do like that, and literally use the blue lines to guide us in the direction that we're going. And let's see where this takes us. Could be someplace really cool. Yeah, I'm concerned. I'm a little concerned about the future of how to put it. So I build all these alternate mechanics and supplements for D&D specifically. I publish them on the DMsGuild because I always use their own IPs as samples or proofs of work, or in this instance, Eberron. It's a D&D. It's a Wizards of the Coast captured IP. So the only thing I can realistically publish, like Color Mana or Eberron Adventures, or like rebuilding Descent into Avernus. Like the only place those sensibly can go and publish is, I mean, reasonably on the DMs Guild. I could put them on my Patreon, but no one's looking at my Patreon. So I would have to do a shitload of heavy lifting for myself to be able to get people to take a look at what I've got going on my Patreon, which may eventually happen. However, it is not the case right now. So the question that I think a lot of us community content producers are having is, how much of this blowback is this going to get people not wanting to play D&D at all, and therefore not look at any kind of alternate content being produced specifically for D&D? It's kind of a stink, because I think people that are looking, like people that go to DMs Guild in the first place looking for additional alternate content for use with D&D, seem like the kind of people that are into the homebrew and independent scene on top of just enjoying D&D. So I wonder how much in the next couple months are we going to see DMs Guild content start to take a production loss as well. Like not turn out like inventory, not have as much audience going to the DMs Guild to purchase alternate stuff for D&D specifically. Like, how much of a blowback is all of this OGL shenanigans going to actually damage people that are like me, that are trying to supplement what exists for 5e as it is? I mean, fully knowing that we're going to all have to switch over to 1D&D eventually anyway. I wonder how backward compatible all this stuff is actually going to be now that the audience is killing their D&D Beyond subscription. I think that's hysterical. Like I've never been a subscriber to. I have no, because I don't care. I don't use their tools. I don't need their D&D Beyond supplement stuff to do what I do. I'm a Roll20 guy. Which is what OBS uses, which is where this I'll be able to publish this adventure through Roll20 onto online and use it, because that's where we've been doing our playtesting, is on Roll20. So I think it's great that I can just drop this in as a supplement into the Roll20 marketplace. That might actually be a good place for us to bail to. Now they got all this stupid crap going on, but people may still be buying tokens and adventures and stuff through Roll20. I'm just concerned that the people that are pissed off about the players that are pissed off about the OGL business are also people that are going to the DMs Guild and might choose to boycott the DMs Guild as a means of attacking Wizards, and I would not blame them for doing that. I just feel it would be for my own bottom line. It's unfortunate. Because I'm kind of stuck here on the DMs Guild for the next couple of years while I rebuild Dragonlance, while I'm sitting here rebuilding Light of Xeraxis, while I'm rebuilding Descent into Avernus. I still feel like these are worthwhile goals and good proofs of test for me to show. This is what these tools are meant for. But I also know that I'm eventually going to be evolving out of DMs Guild into my own projects, my own RPG, or whatever system it is that rises to the top for me to build these tools for use with other systems. I just honestly don't know. I'm waiting for the third-party market to shake itself out, so I know when I start doing Kickstarters, what sort of a subsystem should I be aligning with? How's OSR going to sit? What's going to... I feel like I'm going to end up in an OSR space, which I think I'm okay with, because a lot of my large-scale mechanic stuff isn't, I don't think, properly handled by the retro clones either. The retro clones seem to be focusing in more on the kick down the door dungeon punk aesthetic while sustaining the OSR mechanics to express it. And OSR didn't have good BECMI, like Test of the Warlords. Like, here's incentivizing. Test of the Warlords is a 16th level adventure that was put out in the Greyhawk, specifically designed for characters that have gotten high enough level to create their own kingdom, to have a sandbox hex crawl area suitable for 16th level characters to deal with large scale threats that warrant having an army building out into a hex crawl for creating new territory, that you have to go fight giants to claim this area, to go fight dragons to fight this area, to go fight elementals to claim this area, to fight a barbarian horde to claim this other area. And these are all like thousands of barbarians or hundreds of dragons, or like shit that you really need to have an army to deal with. I have the approval from DMsGuild for me to translate this Greyhawk adventure using my mechanics. So it's like, I don't want to walk away from that. That's really fucking cool that OBS is fine with me doing that. And I haven't seen anybody mess with any Greyhawk content on DMsGuild at all, because everyone's always trying to create something, new that isn't allowed to use the Greyhawk campaign setting. But like, if all you're doing is a mechanical conversion and maps and explaining how these mechanics work on large scale, and you just translate an old document, that's fine. You're cool to do that. And I'm like, holy shit, that's amazing. So, yeah. So I kind of want to stick around here and just take all this old D&D content and convert it, which is going to outlast the whole thing. It's like, this is like the fourth generation of management that I've, as a community member, as a consumer of D&D content, like raw D&D, pure D&D, first, second, third, fourth, fifth edition, now into 1D&D. This is like the fourth set of executive management, like C-suite management, that I have survived past. Like, second edition was pretty cool, but then, it went stagnant for a decade, and then Wizards picked up the failing IP and started creating third edition, and opened up the OGLs as a reassurance that you can keep playing second edition. We're not going to get in your way, but we're doing this new thing, which is awesome. And then that management quit, and they brought in new crew for fourth edition, and at this point the fourth edition crew has pretty much C-suited out at this point, and they had the new 5th edition crew come in, and we're starting, like Chris Cox and stuff like that, we're starting to see those guys exiting from the Hasbro space, which is where we got to this corporate shill situation. But these guys are all going to quit too. They're going to get their personal bonuses for fucking up the company and quitting, and then they'll have to find somebody with RPG experience to recover the brand. And that'll end up probably modifying 1D&D further, or even replacing it with 7th edition. And then it'll end up being good again, because it's an odd edition. It's the even editions that apparently suck. So just gotta. I personally just need to wait it out. But it's gonna be bullshit for a number of years, I suspect, while that susses out. But I just don't know how much people that purchase DMsGuild stuff, how much they actually care about what's going on. So by the time I end up leaving the DMsGuild and have all these books done, like in 2025, and I take a look around, at that point we're gonna have a really well defined. We'll have new fences for us to roam in different licensing. What's the word I'm looking for? Alliances, I think, is probably the word. So OSR is already pretty well established, and I think I can probably, like Black Hack or something, I can probably retro into an off D20 using old school stuff to probably be able to start creating content there. But I don't know, man. I love D&D. Hate Hasbro, love D&D. What are you supposed to do? Like, I love taking all the stuff that Wizards has put out over the past 10 years and starting to, add to it. Like, that was the whole chop shop enjoyment that I got out of the situation. Anyway, well, I keep saying it's a hobby, so I may as well not worry about it as a business and just keep doing what I'm doing. I'll probably end up landing pretty. really is. It's silliness. It's just a bunch of silliness. The art of D&D will survive the corporates that are trying to dictate how to have fun right now. And they'll fail. And they'll remember that lesson until they hire the next C-suite morons. And then they'll fail. It's just... Anyway. I wish Wizards was a private company. So they could keep their fucking heads on straight. Anyway. I'm so emotionally burned out on all this crap. It's nice to just be able to paint. So I'm going to shut up about licensing crap and all the drama and just get back to work. I'm going to switch back to my other brush. My normal cloud. See how that serves me. That guitar pick isn't feeling right. Woo! Timely timer. Let's keep it kicking. On point. It's got an hour and a half left here. Yep, hour and a half. Let's keep it going. No. So yeah, I'll come back. We're gonna do the martial power system at lunch today. Rebuilding rogue archetypes into power kits. We'll do that for maybe an hour or two, depending on how the session flows. It takes about an hour for me to go through a kit, so we'll see how that pans out. We've got some additional powers that we've created that I want to take another look at. I'm pretty pleased with how they're looking. Pretty pleased with how they're looking so far, but I just want to do another gut check on them, and then we'll do that for an hour or so, depending on how the session's flowing and how I'm feeling about it. And then I'm going to finish up my work day, and then we're going to come back. I'll be back on at 7:30 for a 2-hour stint. And I don't know. Honestly, we might come back here and continue work on this. I might be doing Spelljammer creature tokens. I also have the Spelljammer, the Nyogi fight. I need to flesh out the asteroids I was talking about earlier. Is the asteroid dungeon we have for spaceships on the Elias Araxis, one of the supplemental things I created. And that's just another asteroid, a dungeon-shaped asteroid field that nonetheless needs coloring, and that's been a fun process. So I might actually do a little bit of that this evening, depending on where we land. I can see the advantage of having just a straight blue field and then being able to layer black color over it to create the water effect that I did, because this fade in the background is actually a little tricky for me to be building out this blue streak stuff. I don't know. I think I just need to get into the flow of it. So I'm going to continue doing stuff like this, see if I can create a neat sort of blurble effect. I think I can tell that I'm going to develop a language for along the water's edge here. I can just sense that there's a way to do this. I'm just gonna let the muse. I'm gonna let the muse play a little bit. We aren't going to necessarily make any sense right now. Just gonna play with the contours that exist already to see what can be produced from them. That's way too jagged. It gets loosened up like that. I like that. Kind of like this. I think we're gonna just find some just natural flow to some of this. I think it's gonna end up looking okay. Like in these dark black areas, it's the blue is the only thing I really need to add. But it's down here in the middle that and then here in the middle I'm only working in black to make this stuff work. So it's an interesting challenge to transition like in this midpoint here from one color to the next. But I feel like less pussyfooting around and more just pushing pixels. I think I'm gonna find a fun space to be in. I don't know about this song. Let's keep moving on. That. Some blurble stuff like that. I don't know if this is the right way to do this or not. Funny about art, there are no I was about to say there's no rules in art. There's just results, but that's not actually accurate because you actually have to follow some very specific rules, like perspective and color coding and stuff like that, to make it look right in the first place. So that's too trite of a statement, which ends up ringing untrue in the end. There's a shitload of rules involved with art to make like a hand to look like a hand. There's very specific things you got to do. Anything that has it's almost like a recipe, which is like a core, which is a much more rule sort of thing than art. So I'm talking out of my ass. That's what it's coming down to here. There are absolutely rules to art, and if you don't respect them, your art is going to look like garbage. I should say there are no rules in experimentation, but there's safety regulations, you know. It's like, oh boy. I like making trite statements and then backing them up with depth, but I'm not feeling it on that comment at like all. Drop a blurble here. Drop another blurble over here. Yeah, I think that underfade is going to end up working out for me really nicely. I think it's hey there, Big T, get out of here. I think this shit's going to work out. Like I think this gradient is going to end up looking really, really cool with once we figure out how this swirl effect is supposed to look. I know I'm super zoomed out right now, and that the quality is not there, but I need to just try to establish some shapes here first, that I can then go in and get real specific on how the gradients work and how they fade with each other and all the fun stuff we can expect to see, and fill marking stuff up with texture and shit. But so we're going to work at this larger level until we get a fun looking overall shape, and then we're going to zoom in closer to make sure it all functions properly, you know. I want this water to look very noteworthy. Like, I do not want to swim in that. Like, that should be the answer. That should be the automatic take from any characters, any players that are seeing this map. Is like, I do not want to swim in that. And then make them swim in it. That is the path of adventure. What's the grossest thing? And now make your characters do something about it. Like, everything's an episode of Fear Factor. I think, good point. Nice discovery just there. This is very much not concerned about where is the water going to go, but it's more about how is the water flowing around itself. Like, how is the goop interacting with new sludge entering the vat? And actually, I think that more than anything is going to help us create an organic path from, because all this stuff, like, once it gets, oh man, I'm happy about that. Because when this stuff falls into this area, it's got to go somewhere. That's what currents are. It's water being introduced into an area, pushing the water that's already in the area, so that the whole thing can smooth itself out the most efficient path possible for the whole structure to become flat, like to be even on the top, like you know, like coffee. Cheers. So as we start imagining how this water is all kind of stacking up on each other, to flow away from its point of entry, to distribute across the rest of the environment where the water exists, in this case this pit. I think that's going to help us see, working from outward in is going to create little puddles and eddies and little paths of least resistance over itself as it's trying to slide into the space. So I think this is going to work out really, really nicely. Like, this already feels really good to me. I can just create this circuit around the border and then start filling it in as we go. Like, keep pushing in from this outer rim. Like, the next step will be to take this like this and then start pushing this in here. Which means I can create a pathway like this. God, this is too fun. And it's like this oily, viscous it's not sludge so much. It's like an oil slick, right? I think that's coming across. But that means that, like, some of the water is kind of like how you can have rivers of like in underground. What am I trying to say? In areas around underwater volcanic activity, the acid levels of the stuff being pumped out from under the ground is so intense that it separates at the bottom of the ocean. So you'll have water and then there'll be a current of stuff at the bottom of the water that is just absolute poison, but it looks the same in the water. Like a fish will swim into it and it just dies, and then it rots and it gets swept away in its acid stream. But it's not water, and you can't, unless you have like a really sharp sense of smell. You might not, underwater, you might not pick up on the transition from normal water into this raw poison in this volcano vent area. So it's the point I'm trying to make is that the pHs of the water, like base, like acid, water, and base, will separate themselves out, kind of like mixed drinks have striations, like rocks, like geology and rocks and stuff, because there's different densities that are trying to sort themselves out in a hierarchy of heaviest is lowest. And I feel like that same sorting process with liquids forces it to sort of shake around and like self-mix itself, if that makes sense, into its proper spacing. So like this flow that we're working on is more like the water trying to find the quickest, or the sludge trying to find the quickest path to get underneath the rest of the water, while the water at the same time is being displaced by more sludge dumping into the pit from another area. So it's all pushing itself around and trying to accommodate, water doesn't try to hold anything. Water just accommodates the space. So as more stuff gets dumped in, the water continuously tries to accommodate the new volume in the space. It's probably the best way of putting it. So if we can identify that tendency, we can manipulate the shape and the flow of what we're looking at. The guide where we have these circles and these little rivulets that are flowing around them like this. That then, that's where we can get like a lot of these gradient effects coming in from. Oh, this is fun. This is the kind of crap I was looking for. This is exactly what I was looking for. So we're completely on point here. I can do like cool little transition fades like this. And have those intermixed with hardline currents. You probably call these these solid lines currents, eddies, and flows. I think these gradients that we're building here, I think I'm going to call those flows. Current, flow, eddies. I think that's a fun language. Like I can only have a current sustained so far until it starts to break down into a flow and then stagnate into an eddy. That I think that's the proper way of expressing the momentum of coming off of the embankment into the pit, and then sussing itself out. Like it's going to have momentum on its side from gravity pushing the stuff into the hole in the first place. That gravity is going to that momentum is going to give way to the weight of other content dumping into the area, resisting its flow. So so fun. God, I love this. It's the problem solving. Like when you know you want to portray something, but you don't really know how to portray it yet, but you're confident in your skill set to be able to produce an aesthetically pleasing result. that shit's just gold, man. Like when you realize, like, oh yeah, I have this. Like that moment of when you realize that you have figured it out and you've got something that you can perpetuate. That's really just, it's a great feeling. It's just, the dopamine kick is exquisite. The reason an artist can fall into this mind space and just be able to just work on something for hours and hours and hours at a time, which I absolutely do. I might only do like a 1 to 3 hour burst on stream, but that's only because I have to limit my engagement and I have a home life that needs to be attended to. But I have plenty of opportunity to be hanging out here and still being productive off screen when I got other things going around the household, and it's so easy. But the point is that you don't get to see it a lot right now. But in other streams that I've done, I think I still have them up in playlists, like the Hashi character commission that I did. There'll be like a 4-hour session of me just pushing pixels, and it's so easy to fall into that mind space, because whenever you start producing the results, like you start seeing the thing manifest, just the reward feedback loop of work equals pleasant result equals pride equals dopamine release equals motivated to push more pixels to feel the pride. Which is where the brain lock gets so frustrating from, like when you run into a wall, because until you can resolve that difficulty that you're facing and you can get the flow on again, you're denying yourself that chemical satisfaction kick that compels so many artists just to keep pushing pixels a little bit longer. There's like this coffee drip of pleasure chemicals being dumped out of my brain as I start to realize that the art process I'm following is creating the results that I want. Like the pride of creation is driving that chemical kick. If you aren't thinking about dopamine and serotonin, these are things that you should be studying, because they really guide the internal chemistry motivation. When you start having that doubt creep up in your mind that's telling you to do something else, it's like, no, I gotta get this thing done. It's like, yeah, but you're intimidated by it and you want to procrastinate. That procrastination chemical is actually a low-key dopamine fix. It's your junkie, it's your brain junkie trying to find a path that's easier for you to get a dopamine kick, because the current task at hand is requiring too much effort for you to get a pleasure response or a sense of pride from the work that you're doing. So you're trying to find something else that is going to either provide you with a chemical pleasure or is going to provide you an easier route to feel proud about yourself, which is why social media is such a trap. Likes equal pride. So the more pride you have in you posting a picture of yourself or that plate of food or your doggo, not so much because you're proud of the dog, but because you feel proud that so many people like what you're doing. That's the trap. That's the social media trap, because it's providing you that social acceptance kick. Because there's always a dopamine hit when you receive social acceptance, I think is the word I'm trying to find for. And encouragement. Like, posting things on social media provides a huge amount of encouragement and God, it's on the tip of my tongue. It's not justification. It's to provide what's the word? My alphabet's turned to shit since I've stopped reading books regularly. Fucking true. Acknowledgement. That's not quite the right word. Searching. It's a feedback loop. Anyway, I can't think of the word I'm trying to look for. So, fuck it. But it's a feedback loop. If you get a shitload of likes for low level effort, like pointing a phone at a mirror and clicking a button, and that's going to net you 100 likes, say IG or whatever, then you're being rewarded. Then that is the optimal path for your body to get its chemical fix. You're identifying that your body enjoys the recognition that you receive. There it is, recognition. The recognition you receive from your peers for the thing that you posted. The posting itself is minimal effort. It's how much, what is the thing that you are posting? Is it a meal that you made that you're proud of? That's a creative experience. You feel pride in the food that you created, and you are the sharing of the thing that you made is the for a lot of people is the end result. So if you're posting low effort acknowledgement kicks, your body isn't being incentivized to put in the effort to produce something that requires more investment of time to get the same acknowledgement. And then you start looking at, well, what's another means of quantifying effort, and that is money. So like when I publish something on DMsGuild, and once it clicks over to that, like getting a copper medal, selling 50 copies of a book is no longer a rush to me. Like all my books go copper. I've got like one book I think that hasn't been copper. So then that means that silver becomes the next benchmark where I can start feeling proud about a product. Like if I go, when a product of mine goes silver, I'm like, well, yeah, there's enough people that are just casually interested in things that my books will go copper just because I put good artwork in them and I make them full reads. Like if you get full preview and you put good artwork into something, it's going to get a copper. It's just a matter of how fast will it get copper. Then once you start hitting copper regularly, silver becomes your next fix, which is 100 sales. And it's and then it's also a matter of speed. How quickly am I getting a silver medal? And then a lot of my work is now pushing into Electrum, which is 250 sales. And then there's a long grind from 250 sales to gold at 501 sales. Like that is a long wall. And I think oh my God, that's a good point. I think did Odyssey Anthology go gold over the weekend? I think it did. Hold on. I think this is gold now. Oh yeah! Gold, bitches! This book just hit gold. This is a project that I worked on with Core Artificer, Sticky Hunter, and about like 20 different writers to build this thing out. Like this is not my cartography. This is not my cartography. That is not my art. There we go. Here's one of the like an upside down island underwater that I'd been commissioned to create. So you got the water line, and you got like this white bone coral, and you got this aging, decrepit, upside down city thing they got going on. Not my art. Not my art. Not my art. There's a crag, a watery crag that I created. God, my artwork has gotten so much better since this came out like a year and a half ago, I think. Maybe 2 years ago at this point. Jeez, McCrow. But my art has like really advanced on beyond that already. But this came out in 2022. Oh my God. Oh no, that was when it was updated. It first came out, God, in 2020. August 2020, 21, 22. So 2.5 years ago. It took 2.5 years for this particular adventure supplement to go gold. But this is actually my first official gold supplement. It's not. I didn't publish this one, so the full thing's not available for people to read. But I got commissioned to do 30 island illustrations like that throughout the 3 volumes. And but yeah, that's my first official gold product. So I'm now pushing into gold space, and so that's going to and like all the color mana books that I have, they're all about like 75 sales away from transitioning from Electrum into gold, which means that they're all sitting like around 425 some odd books sold, which is honestly for alternate color mana mechanics, like the most vague of shit. That's actually pretty good to have just weird mechanical options gaining medal status because people are actually interested in it. It's the MTG thing. Like color mana, MTG content, that stuff belongs on the DMs Guild. Because I can't monetize it anywhere else other than like say a Patreon. So like most of the stuff that I like working in this MTG game design space or modifying DMs Guild adventures, WotC adventures, it really locks me into the DMs Guild until I can build up enough of an audience to be able to not need to be on the DMs Guild to be able to produce revenue from the work that I do, which is just, again, we've talked about that. I just got to build an audience over time. I thought the DMs Guild would be a way for me to be able to build that audience, and now I'm not so sure anymore. But hey, we did go gold over the weekend, so obviously people are still buying there. So that's a good indication. Oh my god, I'm so happy about that. That's so exciting. Anyway, Odyssey Anthology is pretty cool stuff. Bunch of Theros islands and archipelagos. You go from one island to another, adventures at different levels. It's fun. It's a fun little piece. They're all pretty short adventure topics. Like they're not full adventures. They're more like encounters that have suggestions to blow them out into larger adventures as a whole, or how to chain them together. But it was still a great project, and it still sells well. So this is obviously like a 115-page adventure itself, so it's like a shitload of content. But I could potentially do smaller little adventure vignettes like that and be able to produce more of those quickly. But I think I want to get to a place where I'm establishing a style, and like everything else, I want to prove myself my way to be able to produce things the way that I want them done before I start trying to recruit other people to jump in on board with me. If they're going to invest their time with me, again, I want to be able to make sure I can, like, they know the end result that we're looking at. They can see samples, which is another great reason why you should make everything 100% preview, so that if you're trying to recruit other people to work with you, they can actually like read through all your content to see not just the good pages, not the stuff that you just want them to see, but see the whole thing, so they can properly assess, hey, where are we going with this thing? Or like these are some weird mechanics. Oh well, people are buying them, and they can read the whole thing before they do. So logically, people aren't throwing $30 at a sample at samples of ideas of rules that they don't necessarily grok when they spend their money on it. It's a decent chunk of change that people throw at my bundles. So obviously they're getting what it is that we're talking about there, and they're willing to invest in the cause. So that's really exciting. There's that dopamine kick we're talking about. It's really rewarding to be able to produce results that have meaning for yourself. Anyway, we're talking about chemical addictions here. This shit is going to work out. got to resolve this macro scale. That was an instance of me just falling into like a very, very small little pocket. And then I like zoom out. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. There are a lot of instances of those in my future. This is a lot. I think the end result's going to be gorgeous, but I can just see I'm going to probably end up putting 12 hours into all these little things. That is a lot more content production than I thought this was going to be like done today. Like, no. In OPE. I will probably be doing this all next week as well. So hey, at least we have that locked down. And this really is the most complicated, like the most intense map that we have. Like the underground map isn't going to be anything compared to this. So I kind of wish I'd done this one first. I did do this one first. This is the first map that I started drawing. But then it wasn't the first color map that I did. I'm actually kind of glad that the fortress was the first color that we did, because that had a good array of options that were limited in engagement to be able to figure out all this language to actually be able to evolve into this point where we're at right now. So I can't question the process. It's just sometimes looking at how large the load is that we're lifting here is ridiculous. But I think this is opening a door for me creatively, for me to be able to, like, if I am gonna leave D&D 5e or whatever and go into a new space, being able to produce adventure content, I think is probably a good way to go. I know generally adventures, at least in D&D, adventures don't make a lot of money, unless of course they're Eberron, because everything in Eberron goes gold eventually. It's just a matter of how quickly. So Eberron's a good bet for just producing some small change for yourself over time. But I don't know how well Adventure sells in other systems, like how starved people are for like Shadowrun adventures, for instance. Like if I were to build Shadowrun adventures, is there like a thriving Shadowrun adventure market that people are dying for street samurai encounters? I honestly don't know. I wouldn't do Shadowrun. It's a cool narrative, but the mechanics are clunky as fuck. So I am not a big fan of dice pools. Like the World of Darkness, like add up your victories. That is not my shtick. This is me diving into specifics again. Like, I got all this other shit going on, Kearney. You really aren't in a place where you should be scaling in so micro close and paying attention to those intricate little details. That is not where we are at right now, my friend. This is the kind of crap that we're doing right now. So stay the frick on point, dude. Otherwise, you'll never get done. You got to go sloppy large and then get super specific, intricate, accurate later. Don't lose sight of where you're at in the process. Though I am really loving this inverted fade effect. That's super freaking cool. We got this headstone that's sinking into the, like, just poking out of the water a little bit, but it's absolutely going to shape the water around it. Such a fun little throwaway feature that gets to have a larger impact on the environment than it probably ever thought it would. I hear you, buddy. Jeez, 7:15 already. Whew, time flies when you're making water. And it's me falling into a rabbit hole again. Pan out, Kearney. Pan out and keep moving. Got a lot more than that going on. But it's so easy for me just to dive into these like little micro instances just to make a cool little like every one of these fucking squares is like, God, I really want to detail that. I want to like all these spots, like all of them. It's like, God, there's so much cool shit we can do with every single one of these spots. It's like, it's cool. You can do like a thing like that to push all of this stuff. Absolutely working out how I had hoped. Absolutely getting there. So we just got to work on the macro level here to get these flows that blend into each other, and then we can get into like ridiculous, like we were there, like that ridiculous amount of nitty gritty. We just got to get the whole thing sort of at the same flow. I just like every little line just wants to pull me in. It's like, explore space with us here, Phil. I will, I promise, I will. But I got this other. No. Sid, relax. Let's just dive into this micro space real quick. Like, no. Tempt me no further. I've seen the Grail. Naughty Zoot. Come on, corner boy. Get out of your corner. All right, keep pushing. Maybe if I stick to the original tenet and just work in the squares that are adjacent to the embankments, I can keep my mind focused instead of spilling into this gray space to play with how all the water is mixing and interacting further in stream. Just stay out here at the edges where everything is more crisp and flow to be able to set up that wave, and then start pushing in square by square. That might actually be a really fun way of doing it. Like complete a circuit and then like spiral in, like start out here and like I'm working my way around, and then once I finish working my way around, then I can spiral into like the next square, spiraling in like this, and then I can spiral in even further like this, and then here we are on the third square in, and then we'll get to the center. Maybe that's how we'll do this. We'll just like do a big, like a big drain, like a spiral that's self-informing itself as this gyration. That might actually be really freaking cool. So let's see how that works out. It's a different type of flow. But when the water doesn't have anywhere else to go, it is going to just kind of swirl around itself. That feels logical to me. Like I think that's what water would do. You're too panned out, Kearney guys. Thank you. zoom in at least a little bit there, Kearney. Yeah, no, don't need to. Don't need to do any of that. I can push out this a little bit just to create some signature inside of that area. Stuff is flowing out. Boy, this has been a really productive morning. I literally did not know anything about like what was this going to look like, how was this work process going to work, like what do we need to do. Just surrendered all of that to the flow, and just a cool result we're getting. How reward, there's that chemical dump happening in my head, the pride of production. I think we'll let blue be our universal color for disembanking into this flow. Because it's black all along the edges, that makes sense. That would use the contrasting white to help pull out where the water is coming into the pool. That feels smart. God damn, this is going to be so good looking. Fuck. What a cool painting. I did not know I would love doing color cartography this much. I've never bothered trying. Just never bothered. Like this is my first efforts in doing color mapped work like this, and holy crap, I am happy. I might be able to build something faster with like some sort of cartography program or something. I honestly don't know, but it I love the craftsmanship of it, you know, of just the process of building it, of intentionally placing every pixel that we have on this. It's 2.5 million pixels that I'm pushing. It's a lot of freaking pixels, and I love where every single one of them is at. Like I have not. This is a different sort of satisfaction than just doing an illustration. Like there is, like it has a mechanical purpose on top of being aesthetically pleasing, and that is just a different level of depth of functionality. Just a different level of it's interesting. It's something that is literally designed for characters to engage with. I can't imagine anything just more fulfilling than that. I am honestly surprised. I've never bothered to explore this creative space before. It is so immensely satisfying. Just ridiculously satisfying. See, this is going to be a fun little conflict of this stuff stirring in. It's all going, both here and here are going to have to push in this direction to push towards this space here. Like, I can feel that tension already building in that space. It's like, how many of these little points of resolution am I going to have to let flow together to be able to end up producing this result? It's just, it's so satisfying. We got going on here. That water keeps getting better. Yeah, I know, right? Jesus, it's so fuck. It is. I mean, there's a lot to. I mean, God, this is just one. Luckily, I'm starting on the biggest one. I think it was smart for me to start here because because I'm really starting to lock that. Like, this will just get easier and easier as we go, as we discover this process. I'm pussyfooting around with it a lot right now, I know, because I'm kind of half geeking out on just the process itself and letting it sink in. There's that, there's that, God, it's like, I forget who it was that's talking about, but it was like every 10 minutes of doing something, you should, like, if you're learning something, every 10 minutes, you should break and change what you're doing, so that the thing that you've been learning has an opportunity to rest inside your head, so that the neural pathways can congeal. Like a muscle, like you work it, it breaks down the circuit, and then when it rebuilds back stronger, it has a stronger bond to it. This same flow and process of working on one area and then pushing off to another area, and the ranting that I do, and the breaking of action to be able to address the camera. That's the same workflow process that your neurons need to be able to help deepen the grooves of learning and understanding. So this is just stuff that I'm just starting to. I've been reading, or not reading, but I've been listening to neurologists on YouTube that talk about how chemicals work in the brain and stuff like that. Like, this is all new learning to me that I'm parroting back at you to help reinforce what it is that I've learned, and to help create that narrative, so I can figure out how do these new discoveries work inside of Phil specifically. So this talkie process is me resolving that, but I'm noticing how the conversation that I have in these processes break me out of the cycle of the thing that I'm working on right now. As I discover something new, I break out of it, look at the camera, have my coffee, tap my phone for the timer or whatever. These are all rhythm breaks that allow me to take a moment to let what I've been doing fix in my head. So I actually learn quicker. I literally actually am learning quicker here working with you guys on stream than if I wasn't, and I just fell into a pocket for 4 hours of uninterrupted pixel pushing. I wouldn't actually learn as quickly that way. I'd have more production time, but the production quality, I think, would ultimately be lower because I'm not learning as quickly as I do when I break beat like this with you guys. So, huge value add for the Phil today. Big learning, big smarts going on. Very happy. Big smart. We're starting to fall into a level of detail I don't need to be at, so let's move ourselves away from that, and we can start pushing ourselves back into this that we had already developed a bit of, and let's keep pushing this flow through here. Some more here we can push out from. Each one of these gravestones represents a hole that's opened up in the ground, something crawled out of. So that each and every one of them feels like they can be a decent point for me to introduce more water into the environment with, of course, which needs to then flow through its channel out here into the larger mass. God, that's satisfying. Just this. I geek out over these tiny little instances, but I'm loving this flow transition. It's just so sick. God, I fucking love that. Super caught up in that detail. Need to make sure I don't get caught up in those smaller details so much. Need to stay on course and flesh out these bits. But boy, this thing's really just freaking panning out. Oh my god. Such a ridiculous... This map is so ridiculous. This is going to be so fucking sick when it's done. I am... Oh boy. I am looking forward to using this to build out the flooded pit in the underground laboratory. Just so satisfying. Break your rhythm there, son. Sick. Well, we've almost completed our first circuit, and we can start smudging stuff in. We'll probably end up backfilling and pushing out as well as back in again as we go through the smudging process. But so far, this is all... Algernon? This is all painting itself out really nicely. So this is exactly where I hoped I would get to without knowing how the hell I was going to get here in the first place. That is immensely satisfying. $7:30 now. We got a half hour left. Holy crap, that's great. Well, we'll finish this. We'll finish this first outer limit. Oh, the outer limits. We'll finish this first wave in the half hour we have left for sure, and then we'll start being able to push in and start smoothing all this stuff out. Like that. Wow. Just wow. Wow, 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 wow. All right, well, we completed our circuit. Shit. This is where we want to be at. This is fucking great. So now I think it's just a matter of me diving in, running the play, keep at it. So right now I'm just kind of futzing around a little bit. I let the piece talk to me a little bit about, its language of where it's moving. Right now, I'm just kind of working on general flow. Now that I have the overall splash of it, I can actually get rid of the grid and start working with outlines. Let's do that. Let's just work. Let's just work for free. What am I trying to say? Let's just freewheel for a little bit here, just to see how we can make things blend together a little bit. See where we end up at, and we can zoom in closer, and then we can go back to the grids and start pushing from grid to grid to grid to grid to grid, line. Let's work down the line, make everything flesh out. Timely timer. Last 20 minutes. So last 20 minutes for the day, and then so Martial Powers are going to be back on at 11:30. That is 4 hours from now. So we'll have we'll be on for at least an hour. If we have people show up and hanging out, then maybe I'll stick around for 2. But last week when I was working on the power kits, I didn't have anybody show up. So once I finished the kit, I just bailed. But if we got people showing up this time and we're having fun, then maybe I'll stick around longer. But we're getting very, very close to done with the Martial Power system. So I am in no hurry to punch it out because I got so much other content here that we're working on. But it's nice to see that in February for sure, there should be no difficulty with us having that finished and handing it off for edits and for Ken to chew on through March. Get it back to us in April. By the end of April, we should be done with both this adventure and Spelljammer. We'll have those off of our plate, which means we will then have space open for page layouts for the Martial Powers project. And I reckon by May, we'll be doing artwork for the Martial Powers project. And we'll also be working on the guilds, the squads and armies supplement for the In Command system, and start building out Dragonlance stuff. So I'll be chewing on and crapping on the Dragonlance adventure the same as I chew on and crap on Light of Zaraxis and Descent into Avernus. And then I'll have more playtesting that we'll have set up. I reckon we can start doing Dragonlance playtesting probably in April. So I will most likely have a weekly team that I'll need to pull together. Or like maybe 2 or 3 different teams to work through different scenarios at different points. And I might have to fucking buy a copy of that stupid Dragonlance board game just so I can get access to the booklet, so I can translate the combat scenarios in that board game into the 5e mechanics for us to include with the Dragonlance conversion guide for In Command of Squads and Armies. That's just it's too gorgeous to take Dragonlance and make something good out of it using our mechanics. But again, that's something that respectfully deserves to be on the DM's Guild. Like, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. It's like, you guys weren't smart enough to build a mass combat system for 5e, so I will put it on the DM's Guild in recognition that WotC has the right to take those mechanics and build something with it. But if they weren't smart enough to build it in the first place, I don't see them being smart enough to implement them either, which means it's kind of going to be up to me to point it out to people. It's like, hey, here's the thing you can do. Hopefully people will be into it. I mean, it's easy for me to sell stuff on just my enthusiasm, but folks got to take all this crap and run with it themselves. This is just, oof. Just keep working it. I like this song a lot. It has really good transitions and scaling. Like, that was a really chill breakdown. But, I mean, that was absolutely a ramp breakdown. I love that shit. All right, that was fun, but I think I'm recognizing, yeah, as I'm flowing downward, I feel like I need to be pushing upward. The spiral thing's gonna work out. I just gotta get myself into that groove. So let's work on choosing a momentum. And counterclockwise feels right to me. Although, oh god, that's a really good point. Because Karnath is in the northern hemisphere, and I think water spirals clockwise in the northern hemisphere. Let's find out. Which direction does water swirl in the northern hemisphere? Clockwise direction in the northern hemisphere. So it's clockwise in the northern hemisphere and it's counterclockwise in the southern hemisphere. Which means I need to make sure this stuff isn't flowing this way. Danku. It needs to flow this way. So, when in doubt, flow clockwise, because we're in Karnath. If we were in Zendrik, it'd be counterclockwise. So I can continue to move around like this. That'll push down here. And then this stuff will push up like this. Nice. That is a very simple rule that we can follow to be able to, and of course that it's going to ignore that here while we push out of this little tributary. Tributary of woe. But once we do, it starts to break out and then it'll start swirling this way. Each one of these little transitions has its own clock that it's following. So like this will spiral this way. But this will be spiraling this way. So now we can start seeing where, like, we can start creating our first little eddy up in here. Kind of like that. Beep, 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 beep. You got this going on up here, so this is going to flow this way. This is going to continue to flow this way. I can use the contrast between the blue and the black to represent alternate flows. It's like this one's like this is a thicker, a thicker mass of blue that's transitioning in from the top here. So in this little river, this flow of this, what was the words that we were using? Flow, eddy, and stream. So this stream of black that's coming in doesn't have as much mass as this blue flow does. So it causes the black to break and push back and find an easier path to flow, which causes it to move over like this, which then it starts hitting this blue mass, which is coming in and working its way around this little island. And of course, since things are supposed to be spiraling clockwise here, that all this ends up flowing in like this, clockwise, to smooth into this effect here, and then we'll blend it in as these two, the blue mass here and the black inlet, the black flow. No, that's the flow, and that's stream. Thank you. As this black stream hits this blue flow, and they both start to zero out in their momentum, they will naturally blend into each other into a larger flow like this. I'm going to cut a hole there. Do like that. And so this whole flow here is now transitioning into a larger eddy, like that. And these tributaries here also just naturally start bending into this spiral flow like that because of the northern hemisphere. Like that. But of course, this doesn't actually go anywhere, so it has to self-disperse. So it has to find another place where it can flow out of from the middle here. So we have to create another point of resistance in here. Sorry, I'm messing around with this little tributary here. Kind of like that. I liked how that fade was working up here, so I think I want to kind of duplicate some of that action down here. Again, clockwise. So we want to think about how quickly is this stuff going to move away from its natural path is off of this embankment is away from the embankment. But once it's away from the embankment and it starts settling into the larger mass, it's going to again start to curve itself clockwise, because that's how we're playing. Like yonder. the easiest path for this stuff to pour out would be this way, but then it starts hitting all this stuff here. So it starts to blend into this larger mix over here, which then gets pushed by this here. So that starts to blend in over here. So when two forces hit, they flow. Start to transition into this lightning effect. We got the thicker blue here, it's flowing off. That hits here, this hits here. Kind of like that. It's like that, and that goes to there. And I can start doing little blurble effects where the stuff just kind of sits and bubbles with each other once it gets into this grind. That's kind of a neat idea. Like it bottoms out, like in the other map where it bottomed out at the end and just sat there and just festered. It has like that mass of bubbles going on in the middle of it. I can probably do something like that similarly here. But that'll have to be an end step. I just need to get the mass, the swirl into here, and homogenize it a little bit, and then break it up with the bubbles. So, but holy shit, we're looking good. We are on to something here, folks. This is gonna be gorgeous. We're just about out of time for this morning. Yeah, it's 7:52, so I'm gonna have to bounce out of here in a few minutes. But we will be back in 4.5 hours. 11:30. It'll be 11:30 here PST. It'll be 2:30 EST. We'll put in at least an hour into martial powers today, converting rogue archetypes into power kits that any martial character could use. Like if you want a rogue assassin or a ranger assassin or a barbarian assassin, we're going to figure out what an assassin kit looks like that any of these martial characters can take to express themselves as a different type of archetype. And of course, with all these powers being learned, basically disciplines, learned powers, you can swap them out every level. So like from like say level 3 to 5, you want to be a scout. You can take a bunch of scout powers, but then by like say level 7, they really need you to be an assassin. Then you can swap out all your powers, as many of them as you need to kit into assassin. So like if we have 15 powers that we learn and your kit only needs like 6 powers to express itself, then you could do something like be an assassin scout to become a skirmisher. So we can distill down how many powers are actually needed to express a specific type of archetype, and then we'll know what its what its power budget is to be able to achieve that. And that's something I'm actually really fucking excited about. I think that's what I like the most about the martial power system, is that you can swap out what your character's role in the party is pretty easily, and there's enough budget available inside of the system itself for you to express potentially more than one, like to really commit to one type of archetype, or to express and blend multiple archetypes together. So I will be happy to talk about that ad nauseum later on today when we're actually on for the Martial Powers project in 4.5 hours. But for now, I lament having to let this go right now. Where were we at? We were here, and now we're here. So I think we've got. If we have an opportunity to bring in some of that base back, I think that'll serve us. But I'm pretty happy with where this guy's at and how we're layering things right now anyway. So I don't think I really want to change anything per se. All right, I gotta go. I gotta stop. I will frickin' do this forever if I don't hit the brakes. So I'm going to stop for now. I am super excited about where this is going. I already can feel how much easier it's going to be for me to transition. Like all this little stuff. Like this is the shit that I'm really excited about building out. Like fleshing out more of this interaction in here. Like that's the core of what I think these things are, and then being able to figure out how these, like, propagate these little things all around in here, and then here, and over here, and once I have all of these outer rim stuff looking the same, then that'll leave like an area like this at the core for us to figure out, and I think we have this spiral blendy effect that turns into bubbliness. I think that's all working out. So, fuck. Man, I'm excited about this thing. We will be doing this for a while. I anticipate doing this for the rest of the week. I'm potentially going to come back and do that tonight, like at 7, like in 11.5 hours. We'll do Martial Powers for an hour or so in 4.5 hours. We'll come back in 11.5 hours from now and continue with our evening stream, because Mondays and Thursdays we have evening streams. Once I actually get the Dragonlance content going, I'll probably be dropping. I might be dropping my Thursday night stream in favor of having a Thursday night playtest team. We'll see who's available, but we won't be worrying about that until April for Dragonlance. But for now, I gotta stop for now. Regrettably, gotta stop. But boy, I am really, really excited about seeing how these techniques transfer over to these other. Especially this one. This one's going to be a lot of fun too. Oh my god. We got so much cool shit headed our way. I will see you guys on the other side. I am super looking forward to it. Later. Thanks for being here. Like, subscribe. Check out the other playtest, the former playlists, so you can see all this stuff filter in. And I'll see you guys on the other side later on today.